What would you do if your husband threw you out for saving a baby, only to discover that child was the heir of an alpha? And you were fated to the same man your best friend once loved? This is the story of Mara, the wolfless woman the moon refused to forget. And tonight, fate comes knocking. The sterile scent of antiseptic clings to the air, too clean to feel real. Mara Ellison sits stiffly in the exam chair, her hands folded so tightly in her lap her knuckles pale. The doctor's lips move, but her voice sounds far away. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Ellison. The results are definitive. You won't be able to bear children. For a moment, everything in the room tilts, her heartbeat echoing in her ears, the sound of the clock on the wall suddenly deafening. She forces herself to focus on the medical diplomas framed neatly behind the doctor's desk. It's something solid, something real, something not shattering. There must be something, she says at last, her voice small but steady. A treatment, a chance. I wish I could give you hope, the doctor says softly. But your condition is congenital. Even with advanced shifter medicine, the chances are negligible. Mara nods mechanically. Outside, rain streaks the window, tracing ghostly lines down the glass. She can't cry here. Not yet. She drives home in silence, her fingers gripping the steering wheel as thunder rumbles overhead. The road blurs through her tears, but she keeps driving to the house she shares with Reed Ellison, her husband. Beta Wolf of the Silvermark Pack. A man who values strength, lineage, and legacy above all. Inside their house, everything gleams in perfect order, cold, precise, a reflection of him. The nursery upstairs, though, is her touch. Soft cream walls, a hand-painted mural of moonlit trees, and a tiny crib Reed built 3 years ago when they first began trying. Hope still lingers there like the faint scent of lavender. When Reed comes home, Mara waits for him at the kitchen counter, the paper folded neatly before her. Reed, she says quietly, I saw the doctor today. He doesn't look up from removing his coat. And I can't conceive. Not now, not ever. He stills his back to her. Then he turns, face unreadable, brown eyes cold as autumn water. So that's it. Mara swallows. That's it. A long pause. Then a sigh, tired, not tender. We'll figure something out, he says at last, but his tone is detached. Don't tell anyone. The pack doesn't need to know. The way he says it, the pack doesn't need to know, stings more than anything. Not we'll face this together, not I love you. That night, she lies awake beside him, staring at the ceiling while he sleeps soundly. Her chest aches with emptiness, not just from what she's lost, but from the silence between them. Days pass. The house feels colder, the space between her and Reed widening like a crack in glass. When she mentions adoption, he laughs bitterly. What, bring home some human brat? Or worse, a rogue's pup?
We don't even know their bloodline.
Our kind doesn't adopt, Mara. We build legacy. Our kind, she repeats, her voice trembling. You mean wolves? He doesn't answer, because they both know what he means. Because she's wolfless. Among shifters, the wolf spirit manifests by adolescence, a reflection of power, identity, and connection to the moon. But Mara's never felt hers. She's an anomaly. An empty vessel in a world where strength is measured in fangs and claws. Reed married her for her family's influence, not for love, and she has tried, gods, she has tried to be enough. Now even that thin thread feels like it's unraveling. She spends her days in the half-lit nursery, running her hand along the smooth wood of the crib. You are supposed to be ours, she whispers to the empty room. You are supposed to make us a family. Her words echo hollowly against the silence. That night, the phone rings. Mara answers absently, expecting a pack inquiry or one of Reed's lieutenants. Instead, a shaky voice gasps, Mara Ellison? It's Anya Holt. I'm calling from the Border Patrol. There's been an attack. Her voice breaks. It's your old friend Lyra. She's asking for you. She won't make it through the night. Mara's grip tightens on the receiver. Lyra? They hadn't spoken in nearly 10 years. But once, They'd been inseparable. Two girls dreaming under the same moonlight before pack politics and life divided them. "She's asking for you," Anya repeats. "Come quickly." She's at the Hollow Ridge compound. The call ends, leaving Mara staring at the silent phone, her heartbeat thunderous in her chest. Without thinking, she grabs her keys and runs into the rain. She doesn't know it yet, but this night, the night she answers that call, will shatter her life a second time. And from that wreckage, something far more powerful will rise. The Hollow Ridge compound rises from the mist like a fortress carved into the mountain. Massive wooden gates, iron-banded and slick with rain, creak open at her arrival. Two guards step forward, their eyes flashing gold under the lantern light. "State your business." One growls, nostrils flaring. "Mara Ellison," she says, breathless. "Lyra Holt summoned me. I was told she's dying." The guards exchange uneasy looks before one nods and waves her through. Upstairs. East Wing. Healer's chambers. Inside, the air is heavy with sage and blood. Shifters whisper in corners, their faces drawn with worry. Mara follows the scent of iron and salt until she reaches the open door. Lyra lies motionless in the bed, her skin ghostly pale against dark sheets. Her once fiery hair clings to her temples, damp with sweat. Bandages stained crimson wrap her abdomen. The healer kneels nearby, murmuring soft incantations that smell of wolfsbane and ash. Mara's breath catches. For a moment, she's 20 again. Lyra's laughter echoing through the forest, their fingers intertwined as they swore to be sisters forever. But that was another lifetime. "Mara," the whisper drags her back. Lyra's eyes flutter open, cloudy, but still that same amber gold. "You came." "Of course I did," Mara breathes, rushing to her side. "Don't talk. Just rest." Lyra shakes her head weakly. "No time. The rogues, they ambushed us. I led the patrol. Should have waited," she coughs, the sound raw and wet. The healer presses a hand to her shoulder, but Lyra swats it away with surprising strength. "Listen to me." Mara nods, clutching her friend's trembling hand. Lyra's gaze drifts toward a small wicker bassinet beside the bed. Inside, wrapped in a soft gray blanket, lies a baby no older than 4 months. Tiny. Perfect. Her skin glows faintly in the dim light, and her small fingers curl into fists as she sleeps. Mara freezes. "Lyra, is that?" "My daughter." Lyra's cracked lips form the words like a prayer. "Her name is Arya." A shock ripples through Mara's chest. She never even knew Lyra was pregnant. "She's beautiful," she whispers. "Where's her father?" Lyra's eyes close briefly, as if the question itself is a wound. "Kieran's away, negotiating with the Eastern Pacts. They can't reach him. The rogue struck while he was gone." Mara swallows hard. "Then I'll stay until he returns. I'll help you both." "No," Lyra's hand grips hers with surprising force. "He can't know." "What?" Mara blinks. "Why?" "She's like you," Lyra interrupts, her voice breaking. "Wolfless." The word hangs heavy between them. Even here, surrounded by shifters, it feels like blasphemy. Mara shakes her head slowly. "That's impossible. She's just a baby. I felt it the moment she was born." Lyra's eyes glisten with tears. No wolf inside her. No presence. Just silence. Mara's throat tightens. She remembers that same emptiness within herself, the hollow echo where a wolf's spirit should have been. "Kieran will never accept it," Lyra whispers. "He comes from the first bloodline. His heirs are expected to be powerful, to lead. If he learns she's wolfless," she breaks off, shuddering, "he'll cast her out. Or worse." Mara stares down at the sleeping infant. "Such a small, fragile thing. You don't know that. Maybe he'll." Lyra's bitter smile stops her. "I know my mate, Mara. He lives by the Pack's code. And that code has no mercy for weakness." Lightning flashes outside, throwing their faces into stark relief. For a moment, Mara sees not the fierce warrior Lyra once was, but a terrified mother, clinging to her last hope. Promise me, Lyra says suddenly, gripping her wrist.
Take her.
Raise her as your own. Don't let them hide her away. Don't let them tell her she's less. Mara's breath stutters. Lyra, I can't. I'm not. Reed would never. Reed. Lyra spits the name weakly, pain twisting her mouth. That man doesn't deserve you. You've always had more heart than he could ever see. Blood blooms fresh through the bandages. The healer murmurs something frantic, but Lyra's voice only grows weaker. Promise me, Mara. Don't let my daughter grow up in shame. The baby stirs at the sound of her mother's voice, a small cry escaping her lips. Instinctively, Mara reaches into the bassinet and lifts her. The warmth of that tiny body seeps through her trembling arms, grounding her in a way she's never felt before. She's perfect, Mara whispers, rocking gently. Perfect. Lyra smiles faintly. I knew you'd feel it. The bond. Mara's eyes sting. Please, don't talk like this. You'll get better. I'll stay. Promise me. Lyra gasps again, each word a struggle. Love her. Protect her. No matter what it costs. Mara's throat closes around a sob. I promise. Relief softens Lyra's face. She exhales one long, shuddering breath. The healer moves closer, but Mara already knows. The room falls silent except for the steady patter of rain against the window pane. Mara stands frozen, the baby's quiet whimpers the only sound. When she looks down, Aria's eyes, bright, innocent, unknowing, blink up at her. I've got you, Mara whispers, pressing her lips to the baby's forehead. You're not alone. Lightning flares again, painting them in white light. The rain has slowed by the time Mara pulls into the long drive leading up to the Ellison estate. Her headlights cut through the fog, revealing the neat lines of hedges and the stone fountain Reed insisted on having, his symbol of status, more than beauty. Everything looks exactly as it did when she left that evening. Nothing has changed, except everything has. The baby seat in the back creaks softly as Aria shifts in her sleep, her little sigh barely audible beneath the whisper of the engine. Mara parks, sitting for a long moment, gripping the steering wheel. She knows what Reed will say. She can already see his face, the tight jaw, the cold disbelief, the simmering anger under control only because of his rank. But she made a promise. She carries the sleeping infant inside, cradled against her chest. The house greets her with silence. Even the air feels tense. She tiptoes up the stairs, heart pounding, and sets Aria gently in the old crib that's gathered dust in the unused nursery. The yellow walls seem brighter somehow with a baby finally resting there, as if the room has been holding its breath for years and can finally exhale. Welcome home, little one, Mara whispers, brushing Aria's downy hair. We'll figure this out. The front door opens below. Heavy footsteps. The familiar creak of the stairs. Mara? Reed's voice, clipped and impatient. Why does the house smell like? He stops when he reaches the landing, nostrils flaring as his wolf instincts sharpen. Is that a child? Mara turns toward him, clasping her hands to keep them from shaking. Reed, please. Let me explain. He strides past her, the scent of his cologne mixing with the metallic tang of dominance. His eyes land on the crib and the tiny bundle inside. What is this? He demands, voice low and dangerous. She's Lyra's daughter, Mara says, forcing calm into her tone. Lyra was attacked by rogues. She didn't survive. She made me promise to take care of her baby. Reed's head snaps toward her. You what? She's an orphan, Reed. I couldn't just. You brought home someone else's child without asking me? He steps closer, the fury radiating off him like heat. Do you have any idea how that looks? To the pack? To me? She's a baby. Mara's voice cracks. She needed someone. He stares at her for a long, cold moment, then says quietly, This isn't about the baby, is it? Mara blinks. What are you talking about? This is about you, he says. You're desperate to fill the void the doctor left. You think if you parade this child around, it'll make up for your failure. Mara recoils like he struck her. My failure. He doesn't stop. You couldn't give me a child. You couldn't even give me a wolf to mate with. Now you want to raise another man's? He laughs bitterly. And I suppose you didn't think to mention that the father's an alpha. Mara's breath catches. How do you? He gestures toward Arya. Her scent. I know the bloodline. That's Kieran Holt's pup. She opens her mouth to answer, but the words die when she sees the disgust on his face. Wolfless, he mutters. Just like you. Don't, she whispers. Don't call her that. It's the truth, isn't it? The pack already mocks me for marrying a wolfless woman. And now you've brought home one more? His eyes narrow. I won't raise another man's defective child, Mara. You'll take her back. No, she says, her voice shaking but firm. I promised Lyra I'd protect her. His expression hardens. Then you'll choose. Me or the child. The words hang in the air, heavy and sharp. Mara can feel her heart splintering, but there's no hesitation. She looks down at the crib where Arya's small fingers curl in sleep. Then she meets Reed's gaze and says quietly, I choose her. For a moment, Reed simply stares at her, disbelief flickering across his face. You're serious? She nods once. Yes. Something cold settles in his eyes. Then pack your things. You can leave tonight. He turns and walks out without another word. The sound of the front door slamming echoes through the house like thunder. Mara sinks to her knees beside the crib, tears spilling freely now. Arya stirs, her little lips parting in a soft whimper. Mara reaches in, lifting her into her arms. Sure, it's all right, she whispers, pressing her cheek against the baby's warm head. It's just us now. She rocks her slowly, tears dampening the blanket. For the first time in her life, the house that once symbolized success feels like a cage, and she's finally free enough to walk away from it. By dawn, her car is packed. Clothes, a few keepsakes, Arya's things. She takes one last look at the house as pale light spills across the horizon. You and me, little one, she murmurs, fastening Arya into the car seat. We'll find somewhere safe. Somewhere we belong. The baby coos softly, a sound so small and pure it nearly breaks her heart all over again. Mara drives away, without looking back. The road stretches endlessly ahead, gray and uncertain. But for the first time, she feels a strange flicker of peace. She doesn't know what awaits her. Only that she's made the right choice. And somewhere beyond the mountains, an alpha named Kieran Holt will soon learn that his daughter, and the woman fate bound him to, have vanished together into the storm. The apartment smells faintly of fresh paint and borrowed hope. It's tiny, one bedroom, one bathroom, and a kitchen that hums with the constant rattle of an old refrigerator, but it's hers. For the first time in years, no one orders her around. No one measures her worth in wolves or airs. Mara's days fall into a rhythm. Mornings start with the soft babble of Arya waking in her thrift store crib, afternoons filled with the quiet chaos of bottles, naps, and lullabies. She finds part-time work at a local bookstore, the owner kind enough to pay her in cash. Each evening, she walks the baby through the nearby park, letting the city's glow replace the moonlight she once lived beneath. It's not much of a life, but it's a life she chose. Still, there are nights when the quiet feels heavy. When she lies awake staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city beyond her window, she wonders how long Reed's pride will let her go unnoticed. She knows the pack whispers about her. Wolfless Mara Ellison ran away with an alpha's child. The story sounds scandalous even in her own head. The first letter comes a week later. No return address, but the handwriting is unmistakable. Reed's sharp, deliberate script. You've made your choice. The divorce will be finalized soon. Don't think this is over. The Holts will come for their bloodline when they find out what you've done. Her stomach twists as she reads it. She tears the letter in half, then again and again until the words are nothing but confetti. We're not going anywhere, she whispers to Arya, rocking her gently. No one's taking you from me. But in her heart, she knows the warning isn't empty. The following afternoon, she's bathing Arya in the tiny tub when the doorbell rings, 3 sharp, impatient bursts. Coming, she calls, wrapping Arya in a towel. The bell rings again, longer this time, buzzing through the small apartment like an alarm. The baby startles, her soft cry filling the air. Mara sighs, setting her down safely before rushing to the door. Pain, disbelief, anger, all tangled together. For a moment, he looks less like an alpha and more like a man trying not to break. Then, quietly, he says, "Take me to her." She studies him, unsure. "If I do, you'll keep your voice down." He nods once, though his control looks paper-thin. Mara leads him to the bedroom. Arya lies curled beneath a soft blanket, her chest rising and falling in the rhythmic calm of deep sleep. Kieran stops in the doorway, as if the sight of her roots him in place. His shoulders sag, and for a heartbeat, he just stares. "She looks like Lyra," he murmurs. "She does," Mara says softly, right down to the stubborn chin. He moves closer, his massive frame unexpectedly gentle as he kneels beside the crib. His hand hovers above his daughter's tiny form, trembling slightly. Then, with careful reverence, he brushes his knuckles along her cheek. Arya sighs in her sleep and curls her fingers around his thumb. The sight hits Mara like a blow to the chest. When Kieran finally looks up, his eyes are wet. "Lyra didn't tell me she was gone." "She didn't have a chance," Mara replies. "The rogues." "I know," he interrupts, his voice breaking. He swallows hard, regaining the steel in his tone. "She left you to raise my child?" Mara meets his gaze, unflinching. "She trusted me to love her. That's more than some of your kind ever offered either of us." For a long time, neither speaks. Then Kieran straightens, the alpha mask sliding back into place. "You'll come with me, both of you, to Hollow Ridge." Mara's breath catches. "Excuse me? You have her. I have the means to protect her." His gaze sharpens. "And if you think I'll let my daughter grow up outside my pack, you don't know me at all." Mara shakes her head.
No.
"This is our home." He steps closer, his scent washing over her again, intoxicating and dangerous. "It's a one-room apartment, Mara. You're hiding from a pack that would tear you apart if they knew what you carried." "I'm offering you safety." "Offering," she repeats, heart hammering. "Or demanding?" His voice drops. "Both." For a long moment, their eyes lock, hers defiant, his burning with something she can't name. Then Arya stirs in her crib, a soft whimper that breaks the tension like glass shattering. Mara exhales shakily. "If I go with you," she says, "I do it for her, not for you." Kieran's lips curve, but it isn't a smile. "For now," he says quietly. "Pack what you need. We leave at dawn." He turns and walks out, his presence lingering like smoke. Mara stands frozen, staring at the empty doorway, her heart a storm of fear, anger, and something far more dangerous: curiosity. Because when his eyes met hers, she felt something awaken deep inside her. Something that had been silent her whole life. The drive back to Hollow Ridge feels longer than it should. Maybe because Mara spends the whole trip trying not to stare at the man behind the wheel. The hum of the engine fills the silence between them. Every now and then, Kieran's hand flexes on the steering wheel, tendons tightening beneath his skin, as though he's wrestling thoughts too heavy to voice. Arya sleeps soundly in her car seat, unfazed by the tension humming through the vehicle. The baby's soft breathing is the only peaceful sound. Mara's stomach knots as they pass through the vast forest that borders Kieran's territory. She remembers this stretch of road from years ago. The pack gatherings, Lyra's laughter, the towering pine trees that seemed to touch the sky. But now it feels different. The forest hums with energy, wild and ancient. It's alive, aware, and it recognizes her as something other. They stop before massive wrought iron gates engraved with a crest she remembers from Lyra's letters, a wolf beneath a crescent moon. The guards posted on either side bow deeply as the car rolls through. Their eyes, sharp and feral, flick to Mara and narrow in confusion. A wolfless woman entering Hollow Ridge, uninvited, is unheard of. Kieran notices. "Ignore them," he mutters. "They answer to me, do they?" Mara asks, her voice steady despite her nerves. Because they look like they'd rather tear me apart. That's why you're safer inside than out. The mansion looms ahead, a sprawling stone structure with towers that rise like watchful sentinels. The front doors open before they reach them, and a woman steps forward. Older, silver-haired, her posture straight as a blade. She wears the expression of someone who's seen every kind of tragedy and survived them all. Martha, Kieran says. This is Mara Ellison. She'll be staying here with Arya. The housekeeper's gaze drops to the baby and softens. The Luna's child, she murmurs. Then, to Mara, she adds gently, welcome, dear. You must be exhausted. Let's get the little one settled.
Luna, mararipits kweti.
The title still feels raw, like touching a bruise. Lyra's absence is a wound that lingers in every corner of this house. Martha leads them upstairs, her steps brisk but kind. We've prepared rooms in the East Wing, she says. Close to the nursery. You'll have privacy there. Mara hesitates in the doorway of the nursery. It's beautiful, moonlit silver and pale blue, the walls painted with forest scenes. A crib of polished oak sits beneath a window draped with gauzy curtains. The air smells faintly of wildflowers and something deeper, something like memory. This was meant for her, Kieran says softly. Lyra designed it herself before the birth. Mara glances at him. His voice carries no command now, only loss. The man who walked into her apartment burning with fury looks suddenly human, tired, grieving, and trying desperately not to show it.
Arya wakes, whimpering softly.
Mara moves to the crib, lifting her out. Sure, it's all right, sweet girl, she whispers. The baby's tiny hand reaches for her chin, and Mara's chest tightens. Kieran watches the interaction in silence, his expression unreadable. Then he clears his throat. I'll leave you to get settled. Dinner is at 7. Wait, Mara says, surprising herself. Lyra's room, is it still here? Kieran stiffens. Why? She was my friend, Mara answers. Arya deserves to have a piece of her mother near her. He studies her for a long moment, then nods. Martha will show you. When he leaves, the air seems to relax. Martha gives a knowing smile. He carries more weight than anyone should, she says quietly. And guilt makes poor company. Mara follows her down the hall to a pair of double doors. The moment Martha opens them, the scent hits her. Jasmine and something wilder, faint but unmistakable. Lyra. The room looks untouched. A shawl draped across a chair. A book left open beside the bed. On the vanity, a silver comb still tangled with strands of copper hair. Mara moves slowly, reverently. She was happy here once, Martha says softly. Before things changed. What changed? Mara asks. Martha hesitates, choosing her words carefully. The bond between Alpha and Luna weakened over time. It happens sometimes when hearts grow distant. The Luna stopped smiling. The Alpha buried himself in work. Mara touches the For the first time since Lyra's death, the child looks peaceful, surrounded by the ghosts of the home she was meant to have. Outside, the moon rises full and bright. Mara stands at the window, drawn to it. The light spills across her skin, cool and silver, and for a fleeting second, she feels something deep inside, an ache, a whisper, like a heartbeat not her own. It fades as quickly as it came, leaving her breathless. She presses her hand to her chest, unsettled. What was that? She whispers to the night. But the moon offers no answer. Down the hall, Kieran stands alone in his study, a glass of whiskey untouched in his hand. He stares out at the forest where his mate once ran free. His wolf stirs restlessly beneath his skin, whispering a truth he's tried to bury for years. She's here. And this time, fate isn't giving him a choice. The nights in Holleridge are never truly quiet. The estate breathes with the sounds of life, the distant call of wolves in the forest, the rustle of wind through pine, the hum of magic old as the soil beneath it. Mara lies awake long after Arya has drifted into dreams, staring at the ceiling as moonlight paints silver lines across her blanket. She hasn't slept properly since they arrived. Part of her blames the unfamiliar bed, but deep down, She knows that's not it. Something is changing. It began a few nights ago. She'd woken suddenly, her skin prickling, her heartbeat sinking to something beyond herself. The air had vibrated, alive with energy. She'd gone to the window and seen the moon so close it seemed to breathe with her. For a moment, her veins pulsed with warmth, then a flicker of gold glowed faintly in her reflection, in her eyes. When she blinked, it was gone. Now she sits up, restless, the feeling returning like a whisper at the edge of thought. Her wolfless heart shouldn't feel this pull. She's been told all her life she'd never know it. Yet something beneath her skin hums like a half-remembered song. A soft cry cuts through her thoughts. "Show, sweetheart." Mara moves to the crib, scooping Arya into her arms. The baby squirms, tiny fists clutching her shirt. "You're just hungry, aren't you?" She settles into the rocking chair, humming softly as she feeds her. The melody is one her mother used to sing, one she's not sure how she still remembers. The nursery glows softly in the moonlight, shadows moving like gentle waves on the walls. And then, without warning, a low voice breaks the quiet. "You have a beautiful voice." Mara startles, almost spilling the bottle. She turns toward the doorway. Kieran stands there, barefoot, his shirt half unbuttoned, hair tousled as though he's been pacing. His eyes catch the light, molten gold ringed in shadow. "You scared me," she whispers. "I didn't mean to." He leans against the doorframe, gaze flicking between her and the baby. "She cries differently with you. Quieter. Almost content." "Babies know when they're safe," Mara says softly. He nods, something unreadable in his expression. "You've done well with her. She's easy to love." That draws a faint smile from him, but it doesn't last. He moves closer, the air around him charged with the kind of energy that makes the hairs on her arms rise. "You've adjusted quickly," he says, studying her face. "Most people don't last a day under my roof. You don't seem afraid." "I was," she admits. "But fear gets tiring. Eventually, you just decide to live." For a moment he says nothing. Then, quietly, "Lyra trusted you. That means something." Mara meets his gaze. "She trusted both of us. Maybe we should honor that by not fighting each other." He exhales, turning his head slightly, as if to deflect the weight of her words. "Easier said than done." "You make it hard on purpose," she says before she can stop herself. That gets a reaction. His jaw tightens, but his eyes glint, almost amused. "You think you've figured me out, Mara?"
"No," she says.
"But I think I'm starting to." Their eyes lock. The silence that follows is thick, humming. Mara can feel it again, the strange electricity that thrums through the air when he's near. The same pull that scared her the first time he appeared at her door. Kieran breaks the stare first, stepping closer to look down at his daughter. Arya gurgles and reaches toward him. The alpha melts instantly, his large hand dwarfing hers as he lets her grab his finger. "You're stronger than you look, aren't you?" he murmurs. "She gets that from her mother," Mara says softly. He glances up, and their eyes meet again. Maybe not just her mother. Something inside her stirs at his tone, an ache she can't name. She clears her throat and looks down. "It's late. You should rest." "So should you," he counters. "You look tired." "I'll sleep when she does." He hesitates, then turns toward the door. But before he leaves, he says quietly, "You belong here more than you realize." The words linger long after he's gone. When Mara finally lays Arya back in her crib and slips into bed, the moonlight spills over her face again. She feels that hum under her skin stronger now. A whisper, deep and ancient, seems to curl through her mind. "You are not what they said you were." She jolts upright, eyes wide.
The voice is gone.
Only silence remains. But her heart beats wildly, a rhythm that feels too deep, too primal, to be only her own. The next morning, the household buzzes. Kieran is nowhere to be seen, something about a meeting with neighboring packs. Martha brings breakfast and a soft smile. "The alpha left early," she says. "He asked that you take a walk if the weather's fair. Said the forest air might do you good." Mara blinks. he said that. The older woman chuckles. Don't look so surprised. He's not all stone. Just doesn't know how to show he's flesh underneath. Later, Mara follows a dirt path through the estate grounds, Arya strapped snugly against her chest. The forest hums with life. Birds, wind, the pulse of unseen magic. She breathes it in, feeling something tug deep inside her again. The whisper. The call. By the time she reaches the clearing near the border cliffs, she realizes she's wandered further than she meant to. The wind smells like rain and wild earth. And under it, faint but undeniable, Kieran's scent. He's here. He steps out from between two pines, eyes glowing faintly gold in the dappled light. You walk farther than most of my pack dares, he says, voice low. Maybe your pack doesn't know what freedom feels like, she replies. He studies her for a long time, then asks, do you ever miss it? The bond. The bond, she echoes. The one you never felt, he says quietly. The wolf inside. The voice that answers the moon. She swallows, unsure whether to be offended or heartbroken. I used to. But lately, she hesitates, hand brushing against her chest. Lately, I'm not sure what I feel anymore. Something flashes across his face, surprise, then something that looks like recognition. He steps closer, close enough that she can smell the pine and smoke on his skin. Careful, Mara. The moon doesn't call to those without wolves. Then maybe it's calling to something else. The tension between them sparks like lightning in the air. His eyes darken, his voice dropping to a whisper. You should go back before the storm hits. She nods, but her feet don't move. Their eyes stay locked for a heartbeat too long. Then, with a strained breath, Kieran turns and walks away, disappearing into the trees. When she finally returns to the house, the clouds have gathered thick and heavy. Rain begins to fall, pattering softly against the window as she lays Arya down for her nap. Lightning flickers. Her reflection flashes faintly in the glass, eyes glowing gold again for just a moment. This time, she doesn't look away. The storm rolled in heavy and fast, drenching the Hollow Ridge grounds until the earth itself seemed to tremble beneath the downpour. Thunder cracked like the growl of a great beast, and lightning briefly lit up the valley below. Wild, untamed, alive. Mara sat beside Arya's crib, watching the rain streak down the tall window panes, her thoughts as restless as the wind outside. For days, she had pretended not to notice what was happening to her. The flickers of gold in her eyes, the pulse beneath her skin that throbbed in sync with the moon, the quiet awareness that seemed to follow her every time Kieran entered the room. It was impossible. She was wolfless. She had always been wolfless. And yet, here she was, trembling beneath a storm that felt like it had been summoned by her own heartbeat. When lightning split the sky again, she saw her reflection flash in the window, eyes glowing bright amber for a fraction of a second. She gasped, stumbling back. Impossible, she whispered. Arya stirred in the crib, letting out a soft whimper. Mara forced herself to breathe, to focus. She lifted the baby, pressing her tiny body against her chest. "Show it's just thunder, little one. Nothing to be afraid of." But her voice wavered, betraying the lie. The knock at the door startled her. It was sharp, urgent, a rhythm that didn't belong to the servants. When she opened it, Kieran stood there, soaked to the bone, rain dripping from his hair and jacket. His golden eyes burned in the dim light. "You shouldn't be out in this," she said, clutching Arya tighter. "I could say the same to you," he replied, stepping inside without waiting for permission. The air shifted instantly, thick with the scent of storm and pine, and something darker beneath it. Him. "Are you all right?" I don't know," Mara admitted. "Something's wrong with me." Kieran's expression hardened. "Show me." She hesitated. "It's ridiculous." "Show me," he said again, voice deepening. Not a demand, not quite an order, but something that vibrated through the air like a heartbeat. Slowly, she stepped toward the window. The rain outside had softened to a steady rhythm. "I keep seeing light," she said, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. "In my eyes. Like. Wolf's eyes, Kieran finished quietly. She turned toward him, breath catching. How would that be possible? I was born without one. The doctors confirmed it, the pack seers, even your healers when I was a child. I don't have a wolf. He stepped closer until the heat from his body cut through the chill of the room. There's no such thing as a soul born empty, he said softly. Sometimes, the bond is buried too deep to wake without cause. Mara swallowed hard. Cause? He hesitated, eyes dropping to Arya, then rising slowly back to her. The moon has been restless since you arrived. My wolf, he clenched his fists as if to restrain it. It stirs every time I'm near you. That's not normal. You're saying this is your fault? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm saying it's connected. For a moment neither moved. The storm roared outside, thunder shaking the windows, and something between them cracked open. Kieran's gaze flicked to her lips before he caught himself, dragging his eyes away. You should rest, he said roughly. I'll have the healer look at you in the morning. He turned to leave, but Mara's voice stopped him. Kieran, you feel it too, don't you? He froze, his back still to her. The silence stretched so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said quietly, every time you breathe. Her pulse raced. Then why do you keep running from it? Because I know what it costs. He turned then, and she saw the anguish in his eyes. The bond destroyed Lyra. It nearly destroyed me. I won't drag you into that. I'm not her, Mara said fiercely. And whatever's happening. Lightning flashed again, cutting her off. But this time it wasn't the sky that lit the room. It was her. The glow burst from beneath her skin, faint but unmistakable, a soft golden light that shimmered along her arms, across her throat, then vanished. Arya cooed in her arms, utterly calm, as if she could feel the energy too. Kieran stepped forward instinctively, his voice hoarse. Mara, she shook her head, fear and wonder warring in her chest. I don't understand. He reached out, his hand trembling as it hovered near her cheek, and the moment his fingers brushed her skin, the glow returned, brighter, pulsing with their heartbeats. It wasn't just light. It was connection. It was recognition. Kieran sucked in a sharp breath. The bond, he whispered. It's you. Mara blinked through tears she hadn't realized were falling. You're saying You're my fated one. His voice cracked on the words. The bond one thought was lost. The reason Lyra grew cold. The reason. He broke off, chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. No, Mara shook her head, backing away. No, that's not possible. I can't be. But deep inside, something howled in answer. Ancient and fierce and utterly hers. Kieran staggered back, as if struck. The moon chose you, he said, voice barely a whisper. 5 years ago. I felt it the moment I saw you. I tried to bury it, to honor my vows, but fate doesn't care about vows. Mara's knees nearly gave out. She gripped the edge of the crib to steady herself. And Lyra? His voice was a whisper of broken glass. She knew. The storm outside howled louder, wind rattling the windows like a living thing. Inside, the air shimmered between them, gold meeting gold. Kieran took a single step forward. I don't want to hurt you, Mara. But if this bond wakes fully, then what? He swallowed hard. Then there's no turning back. The silence that followed was thick, electric, alive. Mara met his gaze, her voice barely audible. Then maybe it's time we stopped running from it. And for the first time, Kieran didn't look away. The storm broke. So did the distance between them. He reached for her. Rain lashed the windows with a fury that matched the turmoil inside the room. Kieran's hand hovered inches from Mara's face, trembling as though touching her would set the entire world ablaze. In truth, it already had. Mara's pulse thundered in her ears. The faint glow between them hadn't faded. It pulsed, alive, threads of light binding their breaths, syncing their heartbeats. She could feel him, not just the man before her but the wolf beneath, pacing, restless, ancient. She should have been terrified. Instead, she felt whole. Kieran finally closed the distance. His fingertips brushed her cheek, featherlight, reverent. The contact sent a spark shooting through her body, straight to her core. She gasped, eyes widening as the world seemed to blur. The nursery fading, the thunder outside turning to a dull hum. For one breathtaking instant she saw, not the room, not the storm, but another time, another life. Two wolves, one golden and one black as midnight, circling each other beneath the same moon. Their eyes met, and the same pulse of light connected them, soul to soul. Mara stumbled backward, breaking the connection. The vision shattered. Her breath came in ragged bursts. "What was that?" she whispered. Kieran's voice was low, strained. "The bond showing itself. Memories from before this life, maybe. The moon's way of reminding us what we are." "What we are?" Her voice cracked. "I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're the one it chose," he said. "The one I've spent 5 years trying to forget." His confession hit her like a physical blow. She shook her head, eyes glistening. "Lyra, she must have known. That's why she—" He cut her off, pain twisting his expression. "She knew. She read the signs the moment I looked at you that night at her birthday. She felt it through our bond." "She was my friend," Mara said, her voice trembling. "If she knew, why would she?" "Because she was stronger than I was," Kieran said quietly. "She never blamed you. She never even told you. But it broke her. I watched her fade every year after that, until the night she led that patrol." His voice cracked, the alpha facade crumbling. "She wanted to prove she was still Luna. Still enough. I should have stopped her. I didn't. And I lost her." Silence fell heavy between them. Mara looked at the man before her, the powerful alpha every wolf feared, and saw only grief. The guilt he carried wasn't for surviving, it was for feeling. "You think this bond killed her," Mara said softly. "I know it did," he whispered. "And I won't let it destroy you, too." He turned to leave, but she caught his hand. The moment she touched him, that same golden light flared again, defiant, undeniable. "Kieran, look at me."
He did.
"This isn't a curse," she said fiercely. "It's what Lyra wanted. She trusted me with her daughter. She trusted you to find peace. Maybe this bond isn't about taking anything from her. Maybe it's how we give something back." He stared at her as if she'd spoken a language he'd forgotten. Then his eyes softened, and for the first time, she saw the man, not the alpha, not the leader, but the broken heart beneath. "Mara," he breathed, her name falling from his lips like a prayer. Lightning flashed. The room filled with silver and gold. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, raw, years of denial and grief colliding in one electric moment. Her hands fisted in his shirt, his arms wrapped around her as though letting go would mean losing himself all over again. The bond ignited between them, a wild current of light and warmth that surged like the tide. When they broke apart, they were both trembling. Kieran pressed his forehead to hers. "You have no idea what you've just done." "Yes, I do," Mara whispered. "I stopped running." He drew in a ragged breath, his thumb brushing her lower lip. "Then may the moon have mercy on us both." The next morning, Hollowridge stirred with whispers. The staff could feel it, the shift in the air, the way the alpha's energy crackled differently now, lighter yet stronger. Even the wolves patrolling the borders howled longer, their calls threaded with something like celebration. But within the house, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken truth. Mara avoided Kieran most of the morning, tending to Arya, trying to convince herself that last night had been nothing more than emotion, grief, and stormlight. But every time she closed her eyes, she felt that warmth again, his scent, his heartbeat echoing through her. When she finally ventured downstairs, she found Martha waiting with a knowing smile. "The alpha's in his study," she said gently. "He's been pacing since sunrise." Mara's stomach twisted. I'll check on him." She knocked once before entering. Kieran stood by the window, shirt sleeves rolled up, sunlight glinting off his forearm. He didn't turn when she entered. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. "Maybe not," she admitted, closing the door behind her. But I'm here. He turned then, and the emotion in his eyes nearly undid her. Last night. Wasn't a mistake, she said quickly. He exhaled slowly. The bond's awake now. It won't fade. Every emotion, every thought. I'll feel it through you. You'll feel it through me. There's no undoing it. Mara stepped closer.
Then we live with it.
Together. Kieran's expression softened, and for a moment, hope flickered there. But then his jaw tightened again. There's something you don't understand. Her brow furrowed. What is it? He hesitated, then crossed his desk and pulled open a drawer. From it, he took a small leather-bound journal, worn, familiar. This was Lyra's, he said. I found it after she died. Mara froze. Her journal. He nodded. I read the first pages years ago, but I could never finish. Last night, his voice faltered. After us, I did. And there's something you need to see. He opened the final entry and handed it to her. The handwriting was shaky, but unmistakably Lyra's. Mara read aloud. The bond between Kieran and her is real. I felt it the moment it sparked 5 years ago. I don't blame them. I never will. I only hope, when the time comes, that she loves our daughter enough to stay, and that he forgives himself enough to let her. Tears welled in Mara's eyes. She knew everything. Kieran nodded, and she wanted this. They stood in silence for a long moment, the truth finally settling between them, not as a weapon, but as peace. Outside, the rain had stopped. The first light of dawn spilled through the window, catching the faint shimmer of gold still pulsing between them. Kieran reached for her hand, his thumb tracing slow circles against her skin. You still have time to walk away, he said. Mara smiled through her tears. You don't know me very well yet. He did now. And as the morning sun rose over Hollow Ridge, the Alpha and the wolfless woman stood side by side, bound not by tragedy, but by choice. The following week, Hollow Ridge was anything but quiet. Word of the Alpha's bond reawakening spread through the pack like wildfire, whispered in corridors, murmured in the training fields, and debated in low voices among the elders. No one dared to question Kieran outright, but the tension hung heavy in the air, thicker than fog before a storm. Mara could feel it, in the sideways glances, the lingering sense of suspicion. The wolves could sense her. The newly awakened power in her blood hummed like a live wire beneath her skin, invisible yet impossible to ignore. Let them talk, Kieran said when she mentioned it that morning. A pack that can't gossip isn't worth leading. He said it lightly, but his eyes were sharp, already anticipating trouble. Martha was the one who broke the news over breakfast, her voice gentle but grave. The council is called a gathering. They want an explanation, Alpha. Kieran set his mug down hard enough that it cracked. Of course they have. What does that mean? Mara asked, heart tightening. It means, he said, standing, they've caught the scent of change, and they don't like it. He turned to her, his expression softening just slightly. You don't have to come. She looked him square in the eye. I'm not hiding anymore. That night, the council hall glowed under the full moon. Stone pillars lined the room, carved with ancient runes that pulsed faintly with lunar energy. The elders sat in a semicircle, men and women who had ruled Hollow Ridge long before Kieran's rise. Every pair of golden eyes turned toward Mara as she entered, the sound of her footsteps echoing across the marble floor. The insult hit like a slap, but Mara didn't flinch. The new hum beneath her skin stirred in answer, the same strange power that had been growing stronger since the storm. The air seemed to shift around her, subtle but unmistakable. Enough, Kieran growled, but Mara raised a hand.
No.
Let him speak. She turned back to the elder, her gaze steady. You see my lack of a wolf as weakness. But what if it's something else? What if it's proof that strength doesn't come from fangs or fur, but from heart and choice? A low rumble of disapproval rippled through the room, but her words carried weight. Even those who sneered couldn't look away. Kieran's eyes glowed faintly, pride flickering there. She speaks truth, he said. The moon chooses its fated pairs, not by blood, but by balance. My wolf recognizes her as Luna, as mate, as equal. Rowan's jaw tightened. And what of the prophecy, Alpha? The one that warns. When a Luna without a wolf rises, the Alpha's moon shall wane. Do you risk all of Hollow Ridge on her? Mara's breath caught. Prophecy. She had heard whispers of such things as a child, but never believed them. Kieran's tone turned icy. I risk nothing. I obey what the moon commands. Rowan slammed his staff against the floor. Then prove it. The hall fell silent. The challenge hung in the air like smoke. Kieran's gaze darkened. You're testing me. I'm testing her, Rowan corrected. If she truly bears the Luna's mark, let her call the moon. Let her prove her claim before all. Every eye turned to Mara. Her pulse pounded. I don't know how. Then perhaps you are not chosen, Rowan said, with a cruel smile. Kieran took a step forward, fury radiating from him, but Mara lifted a hand to stop him.
No.
If it's proof you want, you'll have it. She stepped into the center of the hall, the glow of the moon spilling across her skin. The air grew heavier, charged, every wolf watching as she closed her eyes. Don't think, she told herself.
Feel.
The hum inside her rose, warm and fierce. She thought of Arya's laughter, of Lyra's trust, of Kieran's broken eyes the night he called her fated one. The light built until it burned behind her eyelids, and when she opened them, the moonlight answered. It poured through the glass ceiling like liquid silver, swirling around her, lifting her hair, her breath, her spirit. Gasps echoed through the hall as the markings of the old Luna bond, glowing gold vines, bloomed across her arms. Kieran dropped to one knee, his wolf bowing instinctively to the power that radiated from her. The others followed, their defiance crumbling into awe. Rowan staggered back, eyes wide.
Impossible.
Mara's voice filled the silence, calm but thunderous. Nothing is impossible when the moon itself remembers your name. Then the glow dimmed, the light fading until only her soft breathing remained. Arya slept peacefully in her sling, untouched by the power that had swept through the hall. Kieran rose slowly, eyes locked on hers. Luna, he said, voice reverent. Mara smiled faintly, tears glimmering. I think I finally believe you. That night, as they stood on the balcony overlooking the forest, Kieran's arms slipped around her waist. The moon hung low and full above the pines, a watchful witness. They'll follow you now, he murmured. They saw the truth. She leaned against him, exhausted but glowing. Maybe. Or maybe they'll wait for me to fail. Then we'll make sure you don't. His hand brushed her hair back, his lips ghosting over her temple. You've done what no one thought possible, Mara. You've turned the tide of an entire pack. She smiled softly. I didn't do it alone. No, he agreed. You never will again. For a long moment, they watched the forest in silence, wolves howling in the distance, their voices rising in unison beneath the silver moon. It was a song of belonging, of a new Luna's rise, and of fate rewriting its own legend. Peace never lasts long in Hollow Ridge. The night after the council's surrender, a strange stillness settled over the land. The wolves had bowed, the bond had been proven, and the moon had chosen her, but peace always demands a price. It began at dawn. Kieran was already awake when the alarm bells sounded, sharp and echoing through the valley. His wolf surged forward instantly, senses flaring. Rogues, he growled, yanking open the balcony doors. From the eastern ridge, black shapes moved fast across the mist, too coordinated for simple rogues. Their howls were organized, their formation precise. They're not rogues, he said grimly. They're Draven's pack. Mara's stomach twisted. Draven, the exiled alpha who had once challenged Kieran for leadership, cast out years ago for treachery. What do they want? She asked, clutching Arya close as thunder rolled above. What they've always wanted, Kieran replied, pulling on his jacket. Power. And this time, they think they've found a weakness. His eyes met hers. You need to stay inside. Like hell, Mara snapped. If this is about me, I'm not hiding while others bleed. He hesitated, torn between instinct and admiration. You don't have to prove yourself again. I'm not doing this to prove anything, she said fiercely. I'm doing it because I'm Luna. Kieran's jaw tightened. Then he nodded once. Stay close to me. The pack assembled on the eastern field, the air thick with the scent of rain and steel. Warriors shifted into their wolf forms, fur bristling, teeth bared. Beyond a clearing, the enemy pack waited, dozens of them, led by a towering figure whose eyes gleamed red in the stormlight. Draven. Still playing alpha, I see, he called out, his voice deep and mocking. Tell me, Kieran, do you really think the moon will bless a bond with a broken woman? A snarl tore from Kieran's throat, but Mara stepped forward before he could answer. Say that again, she said, her voice calm and sharp as glass. Draven's grin widened. Ah, the Luna herself. The wolfless wonder. Tell me, do you even hear the moon, little human? Or does your alpha keep you as decoration, a pity trophy for his guilt? Mara's eyes glowed gold. You should leave, she said softly. The smirk faltered. What did you say? I said, she repeated, voice rising, you should leave. Before the moon decides to remember your name too, and curse you for what you've done. The air shifted, heavy and electric. The wolves on both sides froze as the clouds above parted, revealing the pale face of the moon. Light spilled over Mara like liquid fire. Her pulse thundered in her ears, and for the first time, she didn't resist the pull. She let it in. The glow spread from her chest to her hands, her skin alive with gold patterns that mirrored the ancient lunar runes carved into the council's walls. The ground trembled beneath her bare feet. Kieran stared, awe and disbelief warring in his eyes. Mara. But she wasn't afraid. Not anymore. You wanted proof, she told Draven. Here it is. Her voice echoed, layered, not just hers but something deeper, older. The light exploded outward, sweeping across the field like a wave. Wolves on Kieran's side dropped to one knee, their eyes turning silver as the Luna's aura washed over them. Draven's warriors stumbled, whining in pain. The light burned against their skin, searing through whatever dark power tethered them. Draven himself let out a roar, shifting into his monstrous black wolf form, lunging forward with deadly speed. Kieran shifted too, a massive gray beast crashing into Draven midair, their teeth clashing in a violent blur. Mara, stay back, he snarled through the mind link, but she ignored him. The golden light around her deepened, flaring brighter as her bare feet sank into the wet earth. She reached for that hum inside, the same voice that had called her months ago, that had whispered you are not what they said you were. It answered. Power surged through her veins, fierce and wild. For a heartbeat, her reflection appeared in the water pooling at her feet. Not human, but something other. Eyes blazing gold. A faint shimmer of fur along her arms. Not a wolf exactly, but something born from the same divine fire. Her wolf, her spirit, had awakened at last. Draven broke from Kieran's grip and lunged for her. She raised her hand instinctively, and a burst of golden light erupted from her palm, striking him square in the chest. He flew backward, crashing into the ground with a guttural roar. Silence fell. Every wolf, ally and enemy alike, froze. The storm quieted. Even the wind seemed to bow. Mara lowered her hand slowly, the light dimming. Her breath came fast, heart pounding.
It's over, she said.
Draven struggled to his knees, snarling. You're no Luna. You're a curse. Kieran shifted back, bloodied but standing tall. You're right about one thing, he growled, his voice low and dangerous. She is a curse, to those who would harm her pack. Draven's eyes flicked between them, the glowing Luna and the alpha bound to her by the moon itself, and for the first time, he looked afraid. He fled into the forest, his remaining followers scattering like leaves in the wind. When the last echo of their retreat faded, the Hollow Ridge wolves raised their voices in a collective howl, deep, unified, victorious. Kieran turned to Mara, his chest heaving. You shouldn't have done that, he said hoarsely. She smiled faintly. Would you rather I'd stayed quiet? He let out a broken laugh, pulling her into his arms. You terrify me, he whispered against her hair. I get that a lot, she murmured. Above them, the clouds parted completely. The moon bathed the valley in silver light, its glow mingling with a faint gold still radiating from her skin. The pack's howls rose again, not in defiance, but devotion. Kieran drew back just enough to look at her, his thumb brushing her cheek. You've changed everything, he said. The pack, the prophecy me. Good, Mara said softly, because I'm never going back to who I was. He kissed her then, slow and sure, no desperation this time, only certainty. Around them, the wolves of Hollow Ridge bowed their heads, acknowledging their alpha and Luna not out of duty, but devotion. Mara looked up at the moon, her wolf stirring quietly within. Lyra's voice echoed faintly in her mind, a memory, a blessing. Now you understand, my friend. The moon doesn't choose who is worthy. It chooses who is needed. Mara smiled through her tears. Then it chose right. And as the night deepened over Hollow Ridge, the new Luna stood beside her mate, mother, warrior, and the light of a future born not from blood, but from the courage to rewrite destiny itself. And just like that, the Luna, who was never meant to rise, became the light that saved them all. Mara's story isn't just about fate. It's about the courage to defy what the world says you can't be. A wolfless woman who found her strength, her pack, and a love that even the moon couldn't deny. But what about you? Would you stand by destiny or rewrite it like Mara did? If stories of dark fantasy, forbidden love, and powerful rebirth speak to your soul, then you already belong here. Hit subscribe for more tales that mix heartbreak, magic, and redemption under the same moonlight. Because this is only the beginning.